You're listening to Mile High Insiders with Nick Kendell and Luke Patterson. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Now, it's time to find out what's going on behind the walls of UC Health Training Center.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. It says we're live, so we are going to let it go for just 1, 2, and 3. Here we go. Green thumbs up, and here we go. What's up, everybody? This is Luke Patterson from Mile High Insiders. With me, as always, is my partner, Nick Kendell, and we have got a jam-packed show for you tonight on Saturday, 6 p.m., MHI, Mile High Insiders. But before we get into it too much, welcome back, Nick. Hope you had a great trip, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. 37 miles in the Olympic Peninsula. Saw about 10 to 12 black bears, which was pretty fun. And it was a good time. Had a lot of fun. Actually, I just got back from REI. They have their member sale going on right now. REI does not sponsor the pod, but my God, if they would sponsor me, send me free stuff, REI.
Great stuff.
Just got a new tent, which is great. Excited about that. More of a backpacking tent. So it's a good time. And I am REI. They say Disney World is the happiest place on earth. I disagree. It's REI.
Oh, the cutlery section at REI is just so close to my heart. And speaking of close to my heart, Swink McLeod, hey everybody. Ann, I saw you. Ann Rivera, Dennis Elliott, Game Russ, what's up? Swink McLeod, Mike Givens, Bawana Beast on the ones and twos. That's John K. MHH. Be sure to get at him on Twitter. I see you, Mike. Welcome to MHI. And we got a big show, a huge show we got to get to, man. I'm trying to temper my energy. I'm trying to temper how I feel about the breaking news of the day involving one Bradley Chubb and a minor injury, but an injury that no one is happy about, least of all the Broncos. So before we get there, let's get to some quick matters of business. This is Mile High Insiders. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on your Saturday night. You can catch us every Saturday night live at 6 p.m. Mountain. You can find us on Twitter at our new Twitter handle at MHI_pod. We removed that, cleaned up a little bit there at MHI_pod. Give us a follow, send us DMs, send us messages, and be sure to get at Mile High Huddle on Twitter, milehighhuddle.com for up to the minute news coverage, analysis, still draft coverage going on there. If you guys want to take a peek at some of the drafted Broncos that have become Denver favorites and some people that, should definitely captivate your interest. Get at milehighhuddle.com. If you're joining us today on facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, become official supporter. If you're joining us today via YouTube, subscribe, get those little thumbs up. Find us on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to leave us a review. Subscribe, like, and share. Nick, let's get into it. News of the day, Bradley Chubb. It was reported mid-morning, I would say, that Bradley Chubb's right ankle, he had a minor surgery on that right ankle, and the expectation or the hypothesis is training camp. They hope that he's back by training camp, and ultimately fans are still looking at that New York Giants game. What's your first reaction to this Bradley Chubb news as we start to kick off the show?
Well, it's a major bummer. I mean, there's no other way to discuss it. I mean, you're getting this close to actual football activities kicking off, and he has to have a procedure now when the Broncos haven't been playing meaningful football since, October last year, right? So, it sucks that he has to have this right now. But also, I guess we'll look at it glass half full, right? It could have been it's training camp right now or week 1 of preseason. Ankle still doesn't feel right, has to get that cleanup procedure. So, it's kind of a bummer. It's this close to actual stuff kicking off for 2021 season. But at the same time, could have been worse. Do start to worry, though, a little bit about Chubb. I mean, this is another lower body injury, another ligament concern. I'm a big Bradley Chubb fan. I think he's this team's, honest to God, I think he's the most valuable asset on this Broncos team right now, given the position he plays, his youth, still on his rookie contract, et cetera, et cetera. It's another injury, and I'm not concerned, but I'm also not concerned.
Yeah, you're trying to stay tempered, right? I think that's what I'm trying to. When I heard the news, I had a very colorful reaction to you and Chad in our text chat, and I was upset. I was angry because it's like, can this guy catch a break? Because it's not anything that he's doing. It's not anything he's not doing. It's not the Broncos training staff. This is just, I don't know. Was it an unfortunate decision last year not to maybe take care of this? Did we know the severity of it? So many things, Nick, as you well know, go into routine procedures. So many things go into diagnosis and continued care. And I mean, that's something that we have to really try to temper as folks in the media and as fans. And it's just, my initial reaction is just out of frustration. Bradley Chubb has proven that he can come back from injury. He's proven that when he comes back from injury, he can be a dominant player. So I'm hoping he can get back, man, but I've got some concerns as well.
Yeah, it's a bummer, no doubt about it. I mean, the Broncos really do need him to come back this season and show that he can be a dominant player. Obviously you have Von Miller coming back. That should help a bit, but you want to see Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, especially if you're unsure about the offense right now. We're excited about the secondary, no doubt, but the secondary is typically only as good as the pass rush, and the pass rush is typically only as good as the secondary, right? It's a positive feedback loop there. So you want both those guys. And while I know some people, there's been a lot of talk about like Bradley Chubb maybe potentially being one of the guys that's in the trade for a potential trade for Aaron Rodgers. Yes. Chubb is the one that I'm holding on to the most tightly because typically I know the Broncos, you need to step back from the Broncos' recent luck. Luck. Let's just call it luck with undrafted free agents at edge rusher. Edge rusher is a first round position. And if you're giving up your first round edge rusher, odds are you're not going to find one just because I'll say it again, you lucked into Shaq Barrett, you lucked into Malik Reed from a league perspective, not from a Broncos perspective, but 32 teams. You're not going to find a guy like that.
And to further your point, just real quick on that, I think my first reaction would have been, no, Nick, they could draft one in the first round next year. No, you can't if you're giving away first round picks to go get Aaron Rodgers, right? So I guess that's a really interesting, I hadn't really thought about that value piece because obviously we've talked about multiple trade theories, but let's back that up just a second and let's clean it up and do a little bit of housekeeping. So folks, you're joining Mile High Insiders with Nick Kendell and Luke Patterson and John K, MHH, Bawana Beast on the ones and twos. And Mike Kliss reported today, quote, as recently as last month, a social media video showed Chubb working on his pass rush techniques with former Broncos star edge rusher DeMarcus Ware. Shortly after the Chubb Ware workout, the Broncos picked up Chubb's fifth-year option that guaranteed him $12.716 million as a salary for the 2022 season. Now, ankles don't always heal according to plan, though, and it was decided Chubb would get the ankle repaired this week. Although he will not participate in the 4-week OTA and minicamp offseason phase that begins this Monday, he should be ready for the start of training camp and full go by the Broncos regular season opener September 12th at the New York Giants. So what a powerful report from Mike Kliss saying, hey, these are the expectations for the comeback. Nick, I always get really nervous when we start talking about expectations, especially when it's about players' health. I'm a big fan of no one knows your own body better than you. And the Broncos spare no expense at resources over there at UC Health Training Center. So it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen with Bradley Chubb. But let's open it up a little bit because I know we've got a lot of folks in the house. I see you, Charlie Beagle and Mundungus. What's up, buddy? How are you, Mike? And then we've got Obvious coming in. Thank you for joining MHI. Nick, what's that surgery for as we start to kind of recap the news of the day?
It sounds like it's just a cleanup surgery on the right ankle that caused him to miss the last 2 weeks last season.
2 games.
2 weeks. That's not a good thing. Ankles are extremely important for edge rushers. It's probably one of the most important parts of the body for an edge rusher because you're planting off of that. And you hear nerds talk about it. We're a couple nerds in here, but like ankle flexion for an edge rusher is key.
Oh, sure.
And if you have issues with that ankle, you're going to have a hard time, especially the right ankle for where Bradley Chubb rushes over the left tackle. That's a power one. That's a driving ankle. So it's not the one that he's going to be flexing on as much, but still, if you're having concerns there, then you want to look out. So, and I also see some people talking about, oh man, we still have Malik Reed. That's great and all, but I actually have an interesting graphic here that I'd love to share from Seth Welder, who does some good analytical work over on Twitter. And hopefully you guys can see that. If not, I'll zoom in a little bit. But here you go. You have on the bottom, it's a double team rate, and then you have pass rush win rate. So last year, I know that Malik Reed had 8 sacks last year, but sacks don't really tell the story for pass rush. They're more situational than anything. And so top right quadrant, great players. Bottom left, guys who snap to snap didn't do as well. Over here on the top right, you got J.J. Watt, Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett leading the league. Best 3 pass rushers in football last year. There's Bradley Chubb right there. Zoomed in a little bit. Bradley Chubb in the top right there, one of the top 6 pass rushers in football last year, according to the double team rate that he saw versus the pass rush win rate. And for where you don't want to be is the bottom left. Tano Passanio, bad, not great. Out here, outlier, not good. But in there also you have Malik Reed. So not only was Malik Reed facing a extremely low rate of double teams, but he also was not winning his reps at a very high rate. Now he was getting home. There is value to that, but it's just not. These are far more sustainable indicators year to year. So just want to think about that. Want to put that out there for you guys to think about as far as the value of Bradley Chubb for this defense. As far as the defense has gone last season, he's the straw that stirs the drink. So if hopefully it's not a big deal. I mean, we have Leroy St. Chill, just a minor procedure to clean up his ankle, but at the same time, this is something that was, we're in the end of May right now. We're talking about something that was in December, almost 6 months ago, and he's having to have a cleanup now. So, like I said, I'm not concerned, but I'm not concerned. I'm holding my breath. Hoping it's fine.
Me too. And I love it, Leroy. Appreciate the hot take. Yeah. What's up, Diamond Rattler? I see you. Robert Caslow. Big O, I already mentioned you. I see you getting a little ornery in the chat there. But we appreciate you joining MHI, buddy. And Mundungus is in there, obviously. Here's the thing, man. That take bothers me just a little bit, Leroy. It's just a minor procedure. Well, it's not, minor to you. It's minor to you and me. Is it really that minor to him? I mean, I know he's had tougher surgeries and stuff like that, but I think we get so caught up in just, okay, he's going to be okay. Miracles of modern science and stuff like that. Well, I want to make sure that stuff is all right, because if I wanted to just be honest and what's up, Mo? Let's get to some super chats real quick before I spit you some knowledge. Muhammad Badri, a $3 super chat. And ladies and gentlemen, congratulations, Muhammad Badri, becoming a father, $3 super. Baby Malik has entered the world as a Broncos fan. Cannot wait to see this little guy grow up in orange and blue. Muhammad Badri is a good friend of the show, good friend of mine, a good friend of yours, and many, many congratulations to your beautiful son, man. That's great.
He's got me over here looking like the sticker he sent, looking at his cute little kid. So congratulations, Muhammad, man. That's
great.
That's so
man.
Cool.
I love it.
I can't speak to the fatherhood aspect, but can only imagine, man. Good, congratulations. And we got Stu coming in here. Stu McPeak with a $9.99 super over on YouTube, saying hi all. Hello to you, Stu. It's been beautiful weather in Seattle today, man. It's missing you. I bet you Houston's starting to turn into a swamp, a sauna down there. So, just don't want to brag too much.
Oh, and it's a beautiful day here in the Mile High City. Just a little chilly. I mean, maybe 70s if we want to call that chilly. It feels good, man. I heard you talking about black bears, right? We got black bears in the neighborhood. They're so ornery. We got to keep our trash in the garage. They're ornery, man. I love to see them out and about when you're driving around, and it's crazy, man. You got to enjoy nature when you can. And Buana, what's up, buddy? Appreciate you so much for all of your support. Want to give you another shout out because you are always keeping us on track. So let's open it up here a little bit. Nick, here is my honest reaction about the Bradley Chubb thing. I'm a human being, so I have raw emotions, and I threw a little bit of a fit, if I'm going to be honest with you today, man. My wife watched me throw a little fit, and I'm like, man, what's up, Diamond? Why can't this kid catch a break? I just don't get it. I don't want to call him damaged goods because he's a Pro Bowler. He's one of the, top echelon pass rushers in the NFL. He's in his prime. He takes care of his body. He does the right thing. He's got the Chubb Foundation, if I'm not mistaken, that does excellent work in the community in Denver. I mean, this guy is a stand-up guy. I got to cover a draft a few years ago and stand right next to him when the picks were coming in. It was incredible. I feel so bad. And then I look at the other side and I'm thinking, well, there have been all kinds of other bizarre injuries that never quite worked out, right? Philip Lindsay with that wrist. You go back to Bryce Callahan with the screw in the foot, and things happen, and I guess if I'm cleaning it up for podcasting, you know what I'm trying to say? Things happen. We can't predict these things. I mean, Nick, you or I can go out and sprain our ankle at any second, but when these guys do it, it is such a blow to not only that current set in time and the injury for the human being and the player, but looking ahead to what the ramifications could mean for the Denver Broncos this season.
Well, man, I'm assuming Bradley Chubb is going to be back and healthy. I do wonder, and I think I want to give a shout out. I don't know his real name, but I enjoy his Twitter account, Zan. I think it's Zan21 on Twitter. It's XAN. He said he's putting on his tinfoil hat here, saying Bradley Chubb, this injury maybe takes him off the plate here. Maybe deters the Packers from wanting him. And like I said, Bradley Chubb is probably the most valuable player on this Broncos team. Not the best. There's a difference between the best and the most valuable, but given Garrett Bowles' contract, the value of edge rusher versus tackle is very important, but I'll take edge over that. Justin Simmons' contract now playing a lesser valued position in safety. I really do think Bradley Chubb is this team's most valuable player. And if you can hang on to him in a potential acquisition for Aaron Rodgers, then, you knocked it out of the park. I would rather see Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, one of those weapons, which, you're taking away from Aaron Rodgers. Well, also, you're taking away from your pass rush, finally, when you can play with a lead for the first time in 6 years, moving on from Bradley Chubb. And another thing I've heard some people, again, Malik Reed, Von Miller, you're talking about two finesse guys. You're talking about two guys that are playing 250, right? Like, is that going to hold in the sub packages and how gap integrity is so important for those defensive linemen for Vic Fangio's defense? I don't know. Those are two light finesse edge rushers.
Well, and to add to your point, one of my favorite players who I got to, analyze and scout at the Shrine Bowl 2 years ago at the Shrine game was Derek Tuska, another light pass rusher, Nick. I mean, you're exactly right. We got to have some power. And it's something we've talked repeatedly about on this show. The Von Millers, the Gumbies, they're far and few between. Shane Ray, I have so many thoughts on Shane Ray, and I saw a comment in here earlier with Shane Ray with the wrist, and I liked Shane. I got to have dinner with Shane and his mom at an interview one time. It was cool. But, Shane didn't work out. It's not all because of the medical reasons, but I start looking at those things and no, don't start blaming the training staff and stuff like that. Things happen, man. I get it, but you're exactly right. You got to have some power. You got to find some power rushers, and Bradley Chubb is that power rusher right now. Paige Coleman, welcome to MHI. Thank you for joining us on your Saturday night. Fly Fish Hunter, I see you with the Go Broncos. Nick, an avid fly fisherman. I would like to learn one day. Not so sure I have the patience or the time right now, but I want to learn. And thank you for joining MHI. Nick, Bradley Chubb, I want to talk about the trade value a little bit because I think I would rather, and not because of positional value, but because of the players. Okay. I think I would rather hang on to a Dalton Reisner and be willing to let go of a Bradley Chubb.
You got to hang on to Dalton Reisner than Bradley Chubb?
Yes. Do you know why? Because Bradley Chubb is probably going to command, well, I think before this injury, a higher contract than Dalton Reisner, an edge rusher, right? Simply for that value position. If we're looking at that value metric that you're talking about, it's going to be payday soon. Cortland Sutton, are they going to do it? I hope so. Not sure. Reisner, the price of a guard as opposed to, an edge rusher, that's going to be a big difference there for me too, as you start to build this team.
Yeah, no, man, I can't get behind it. I think we probably disagreed greatly on the Quentin Nelson versus Bradley Chubb debate back in 2018.
Yeah. John and I were talking about that right before you popped on too, because I loved Quentin Nelson too, and I'm telling him, I'm like, oh man, Josh Allen and stuff too, right? He's like, yeah, but that's my guy. I mean, so you're right, dude. It's funny how you brought that up.
Yeah, you can find guards every single year. Teams can find guards.
Not the Broncos.
No, they find guards. They were able to
Graham
find
Glasgow. And don't talk to me about Netani Muti because he hasn't done anything in this NFL yet. I mean,
that's true.
I love the potential. I do. I love it. But it's not, you're right, Nick. You can find guards. Other teams can find guards. Can the Broncos find guards? Because how long is Mike Munchak going to be here, man? I'm worried about that. Mike, does he become a head coach candidate? Does another team want to steal him? Where's he at with his career? I don't know, Nick. I'm just so scared with the offensive line. We finally got it going. I don't know, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, there are hundreds of guys who are 6'2" to 6'4" with 33-inch arms that can play interior offensive line. It's harder to find those tackle bodies. And again, you get a little bit too down in the dirt, to too close with the Broncos stuff, but you have to take a step back, in my opinion, and look at it from a league perspective. Like the Broncos finding undrafted free agent edge rushers, it's not like the Broncos are, that much better. I don't think there's something secret that they're doing. I just think that they lucked into it. Like a lot of time, did the Patriots, they have some miracle team because they found a 6th-round quarterback? No, they got freaking lucky. That's just, that's the nature of it. Sometimes.
And the Broncos got lucky that Philip Lindsay's mom talked him into signing with Denver and not Baltimore, because we all know he wanted to become a Raven.
Yep. So it's stuff like that. I think you can find interior offensive linemen. Also, just the value for offensive line in general, you're as good as your weakest guy, but it's more of how good the unit is versus a singular edge rusher can be a game wrecker, a game destroyer. And Bradley Chubb can end a game in one play in a positive way. You can see that from an offensive lineman too, but you can also protect offensive linemen much better than a singular edge rusher. So, and also let's call it as it is. Dalton Risner was not very good last year. He struggled. He just wasn't good. I don't know if it was a scheme thing. I don't know if it was injury. I don't know if it was the sophomore slump, but he struggled. So I don't think he should be a given this year as it is. I think he has to come back and earn his spot. Pretty much the only person on that offensive line that I feel should be written in Sharpie is Garrett Bowles at left tackle. Everybody else is going to come back and have to fight for it. So I really do disagree with you on giving up Risner versus Bradley Chubb. And I hear what you're saying about paying Chubb, but that's because he's a difference maker at one of the most valuable positions. Like those are the guys that you do want to pay to keep because you don't find them, right? He's a top 15 edge rusher who's still on his rookie contract. But the injuries, we'll see about the injuries.
It's tough. Yeah. Dalton Risner, not one of those players that has the significant injuries like a Bradley Chubb, but it's an interesting debate, theories, and it'll be interesting to see what the Broncos are going to do. Leroy, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, came in with a Baron Browning comment. And this was something I was hoping there was a press conference today, just hoping there was, but with rookie minicamp over and the vets starting to come in, they're going to wait. It's something I wanted to ask Coach about Baron Browning, because Pulp Fiction, one of my favorite movies. So, allow me to retort. Here's the thing. Malik Reed led the team in sacks, and yet Bradley Chubb's a Pro Bowler. I could push back a little bit there too. That Pro Bowl nod. Okay. All right. I feel you. He was out there doing it on one leg, which is even more impressive to me. But Baron Browning, Nick, no. I do not want him on the edge. He can rush the passer, but that is not what he was brought here to do. Jonathan Cooper, I think he's got some time to develop into a pass rusher. I don't think he's ready right away. Derek Tuska is going to be thrown into the fire now. Malik Reed's obviously still there. What do you make of the rest of the Broncos pass rushers that are remaining on this roster? And to start, do you think Baron Browning should be one of those pass rushers?
I think Baron Browning is going to get a year to find out where his best spot is. I do think that he has a chance to be, if he fails at off ball, if his best spot is that 3-4 Sam, which is essentially what Von Miller's playing right now, then okay, that's kind of what you lean into. But right now, I think he's more of a will in this scheme. I'm not going to put the mic responsibilities on him this season, but we'll see if he can figure out the off ball stuff first. But it is something where if he struggles there, then you have another avenue for him to find success in the league. And in the 3-4 scheme here, Von Miller is the Sam in this scheme. So just want to throw that out there.
I love it, Ann. Ann's recognizing that versatility, man. She rides with us every week. So I had to throw that up there too, because there's so many different theories with Browning because of his versatility. And there are a lot of different opinions, differing opinions, and that's great, folks. Keep it coming, because man, when you've got versatile football players, Nick, that's a great thing, especially for a team that suffers a lot of injuries. And I see it in the chat right now, a lot of concern from Broncos country. Hopefully these injuries, and even the Broncos that are no longer Broncos who have been injured or are on that injury list, non-football related injuries, it's scary. It's scary to fans in Broncos country, Nick. Your initial reaction, bad luck, timing, you can't, none of it. Bad voodoo, bad juju. What do you make of it just in general? Because my fan, the piece of me, that fan heart in me is worried, because I'm thinking, gosh dang it, there's nothing you can do to prevent these things. I'm frustrated, man. I'm so frustrated because I like Bradley Chubb, and I think I would really like to see him and Von Miller together one more year.
Yeah. I mean, you know me, I'm pretty analytical when it comes to it and try to be as rational and cold-hearted as possible at all times. And that's
why you're the best Drew Lock hater I've ever seen. So you're as cold. Speaking of cold-hearted, you was cold-blooded when it came to Drew Lock, man. I mean, and we can get that talking a little bit later. We were going to do a Drew Lock segment, but by the way, did you see Drew Lock's haircut? I like it, man. It's high and
good.
It's high and tight. It's high and tight. It's more business-like, as my guys at some of the other local radio stations would say. It's high and tight. I don't know if it's military or anything like that, but it's business. It's not. He's not letting the flow, the lock, the cute little boy band hair. I like that initial impression from Drew Lock hater right here, number one.
I mean, talking about his hair instead of his football play is like talking about his rap game and whatnot. You know, it's like it's cool if you're playing good football, but if you're not, then whatever.
It's all I have, Nick. I can't see anything but stretching. I mean, it's all I have to go off of. And then I did like this though. I wanted to throw this out there. You know, the little 30-second if that clips that they do show on social media and everything like that from the Denver Broncos team website. Drew Lock's footwork is so much better, you know, throwing against the air. I'm like, let's just wait. I'm sure it can't be worse. I know he's been in there working. I would expect it to be better, but let's just temper some of those expectations, folks, just a tad. But let's open it to the chat here a little bit. We're about halfway through the show, and I see Broncos Country is active. We got about 167 folks with us on YouTube, 19 likes, hearts, and little thumbs up. Coach Brad Cosby joining us. Brad, thank you so much for joining MHI with Nick Kendell and Luke Patterson. Nick, be honest, how did the draft go?
I think the draft went pretty well overall. I'd probably give them a B. A lot of it is grading a draft right after it happens. Drafting the guy is just part of the equation, right? You got to get them in the right spot, and then it's the coaches to develop them. And there's also a lot of stuff that we don't have privy to, you know, the work ethic, the intelligence, the character, et cetera, et cetera. That's stuff that beyond the tape that sometimes you can see in the tape one way or the other, but that not always. You're making a projection there. But overall, I think it was a solid draft. The thing of this draft is it's going to come down to if the Broncos can find a franchise quarterback, whether that be Drew Lock or not Drew Lock, and B, if they can't find a guy, let's say 2-3 years from now, and they're still in the same situation where it's a different freaking quarterback every year and a half, and Justin Fields ends up being a great quarterback, doesn't even matter how good. It sucks. It's not fair. Doesn't even matter how good Justin or Patrick Surtain is. If you're still wandering that quarterback desert, you probably made a mistake. You probably will have some regrets, just like the Broncos. It's the same exact thing with Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb, great player. You love him when you have him. Anybody who says that they wouldn't take Josh Allen over Bradley Chubb right now is either biased at all get out or simply lying. You know, like that's how valuable the quarterback is.
Did you hear that, John? You're a liar. Oh, he's laughing. John's laughing because we were joshing, literally, pun intended, joshing each other about the Josh Allen and Quentin Nelson debate because John and I, we obviously like both guys. How could you not? Everybody loves everybody from that draft class pretty much, except, you know, some moves that happen with some quarterbacks on the move, players that didn't work out. Yeah. Julian Hawkins, coming in with MHI, a hot take. I absolutely love it. Injuries are surely a terrible aspect of the game that cannot be avoided. However, I would love to see how comparable Broncos injuries are to the rest of the league. More or less or no different? That's really, really interesting question, Julian. I would be curious to see that as well. Nick, we're numbers guys. I know analytics is big in what you and I do for our professional opinion and analysis. What do you know about that? Do you know of any resources that track these injuries in terms of teams, and what kind of information could you give us to look that up if we want to start comparing to, is it bad luck or does this happen to every team and we're just freaking out because they're for our beloved Broncos?
The Broncos did suffer on the right end of the bell curve as far as injuries last year. So they suffered more than league average. That tends to fluctuate year to year. So you would hope that the Broncos would, land in the mean in the middle or on the left side of the bell curve this year. But that'd be a gambler's fallacy, right? It's a re-roll of the dice every year. Just because they had a lot of injuries last year doesn't mean that they're due for less injuries this year. It's a reset every single season. This is just on the top of my head, I think the Broncos had the second most money end up on IR or missed time last year, only behind the San Francisco 49ers. That's off the top of my head. Also, Football Outsiders, they used wins affected, like DVOA, based on injuries, and I think they had the Broncos as the 9th most impacted to their win-loss record based on the injuries that they sustained. So you are like, obviously injuries did impact this team, but not enough to make a huge difference. Maybe 1 or 2 games. The team just wasn't good enough last year.
Well, and last year was an interesting year for humanity, and y'all know what I'm talking about. So some of those injuries, I'm kind of wrapping up with that because it was unavailability. Right. I mean, that's what we're really talking about at the end of the day. Non-football related injury. The guy was like Ryan Clady playing basketball, right? And gets hurt. All these other, call it whatever you want. They're unavailable. And it's tough. It's really tough. And Ann Rivera knows it's tough, coming in with an opinion. Appreciate you so much, Ann. Football is a 100% injury sport. Every team and player will get injured at some point. Absolutely correct. Especially at the NFL level. And when you see guys like Frank Gore still, going as a running back and stuff like that, Nick, it amazes me. Some of these players, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, a lot of folks are worried about that 37-year-old age that, whatever. And I'm finally going to say age is just a number if it comes to Aaron Rodgers, because I would be pumped with that. But yeah, that's part of the gig. But hopefully they caught this injury soon enough that they can clean it up and, have this cat back at training camp getting some reps, because I love the videos of him working out with D Ware. Absolutely love it. I love that D Ware is, D Ware's a fitness freak. Nick, have you seen some of the stuff that guy does? He's got his own app out now. I think he's got nutritional lines, and the guy is just addicted to fitness, taking care of his health, nutrition, everything, man. And to know that Bradley Chubb's around that, it makes me happy. Yeah,
he is an alien, right? Just a different type of human, right? It makes me feel really inadequate, because no matter what I'd ever do, I could.
He's a beast.
45 years old, I could work out every day as my career. 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, wouldn't come close. Just a different breed. But that's why he's still doing what he's doing. I bet you he could still do some football stuff today.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like, what if the NFL was like MLB, right? And you can have like a designated pass rusher. Bring that man back for 1 to 2 plays a game. I would be good. Dylan Von Ark's coming in. D Ware is built completely different. Agreeing with you, Nick. That guy's an absolute freak. One of the favorites of Broncos country, even though he wasn't here that long. A huge contributor in that Super Bowl 50 run. Bradley Chubb, I'm trying to temper it. I'm trying to cool things down. Everything's going to be all right. The plan is going to go flawless. Let's just hope we roll that way. And then Ann Rivera rolling our way on MHI on your Saturday night. Bradley Chubb is going to be fine. I'm more worried about Locke completing passes to the other team during games. Oh, Ann Rivera, Nick, off of the top rope. Chubb, Luke, she said, Chubb, you don't need to worry about Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb going to be out there sacking the quarterback with Von Miller. What I need to be worrying about is Drew throwing picks. Ann Rivera is obviously not buying into that improvement with Drew Lock. Her concern is about the quarterback. Nick, what do you say to Ann's, salty take?
So I went on a hike this morning, came back, had a beer outside with the wife and some wings. Good time. And the guy that served me was wearing a Jokic jersey, saying Denver's going to win their first basketball MVP, and happy about the Avalanche as well. But he told me, I was asking, hey, Bronco fan, I didn't, obviously getting in there. And he's like, I kind of follow them, but really the last 5-6 years, it's just been so bad. It's the same thing every single year. The quarterback sucks. And as long as the quarterback sucks, it's hard to care. And that's the thing that's really scares me about where this fan base is going. Obviously, you still have the diehards out there, but, and that doesn't mean Drew Lock is going to suck forever. Like, he can still turn around, but the facts are the facts. He was a bottom 5 quarterback last year, and right now he's trending to kind of being more of a journeyman. Things can change. He only played 18 games last year. He still has a lot of talent, but he's going to have to improve. So we got Zebulon coming in here saying, be careful, guys.
Zebulon. I'm going to go with Zebulon. It's the first time I think I'm ever going to correct you for mispronunciation, and I think I'm right. So please, Zebulon, tell me if I'm right, because it's the only time I will ever be right on pronunciation or enunciation on MHI. I'm always killing it.
Zebulon. Be careful, guys. Some people are getting upset that you are speaking pragmatically about the quarterback situation. Guys, if you're looking for a show to blow smoke up your rear end about how everything's, rainbows and butterflies and, Drew Lock's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, then you came to the wrong tree. You're barking up the wrong tree. And he said Zebulon is correct. So glad to fix that. But he just hasn't been good enough. I don't know. If any other position on the team was so obviously bottom 5, bottom 3, you'd be really upset about it. But there's this weird cult of personality. Maybe people are a little bit Stockholm with like how bad like Flacco and Keenum and Brandon Allen and Simeon were, that like Locke offers them a little bit more hope, which he should. He offers me more hope too than those guys. But like, this is the fan base that watched John Elway and Peyton Manning. Like, you guys should know what a good quarterback looks like, right? Like I feel like I'm taking crazy pills out here sometimes. Like, what's going on? It hasn't been good enough. So we got Enter Zone coming in here saying Drew Lock for MVP 2021. Man,
okay.
I'll give you 50 to 1 odds on that one.
Yeah. How? These things, I guess they come from nowhere. And that's where, some of the apologists are going to come out of. So Corey Johnson's coming in with a great question. Nick, what is the weakest position on our team other than the quarterback? Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, Aaron Rodgers, trade talks aside. Corey's got that great question. Weakest position on the team.
This is a nuanced. I have a nuanced answer here. Okay. I think that the weakest position on the team right now is probably the off-ball linebacker, just because I think Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell are average starters, marginal starters, which you can get by with, but they don't concern me as much as far as like the valuation of the position. That concerns me the most is offensive tackle, and it's not Garrett Bowles, it's right tackle. One bad tackle can really actually sink your offensive line. So I think you can hide linebackers much easier than you can hide a bad tackle. And Cameron Fleming, Bobby Massey, it should be better than what we saw last year, but still the tackle position is still it's going to be a concern until it's not. And you have Joey Bosa, you got Frank Clark, you got Yannick Ngakoue now, all in the division. And they're definitely going to line those guys up over the right tackle, because Garrett Bowles, you can still be a little bit of a skeptic of him being an all-pro, but I think he's a top 15 tackle, top 10 tackle. That's me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair. I mean, it's just, I love our difference of opinion. And I was talking to Mike from MHRT when I was on their show, and he paid us that compliment, Nick, and a friend of the show said, I love the way you guys are able to have differing opinions. It's what makes it work. And, sometimes those opposites attract. And this is where I'm going to get after you with being like, dude, you said it's okay to have average play with both Alexander Johnson and Jewell. No, it's not. Not both of them. Maybe one of them. I mean, you got Darren Waller, who a lot of folks, I don't know, man. Travis Kelce, the king, right? And George Kittle, he's the king as well. But, Darren Waller, Nick, I love me some Darren Waller. I'm so worried about Darren Waller. I think linebacker it's something to be concerned about, because Baron Browning can't come in and start immediately in the NFL. You have plenty of reason to be excited about Baron Browning. If you don't move him as a pass rusher, please, for the love of God, don't Justin Hollins him. Ever, ever, ever. But that's one of those concerns for me. Until they show me they can cover the actual tight end position, I'm worried. Lance from DVDD would tell me, don't worry, brother. Justin Sternad. Again, I got to see it. So you're right. Right tackle, I would say linebacker until they're willing to upgrade. We need to find a competent right tackle. We need to upgrade the linebackers. So I think that's a very fair evaluation. And let's get that last one up there as I was on my word salad, John, if we could, because it looked like a really good comment.
Well, while it's coming, I do want to push back a little bit. I think that the linebacker position, I'm not going to go as far as the hyperbolic statement where I say running backs don't matter, but as far as the defensive positions go, I think linebacker is probably the least valuable in today's NFL. They're taking them off the field more and more. And you bet your ass. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but you bet your rear end. I am going to take linebackers off the field to bait teams to run the football rather than passing. All the analytics show running the football, it's the lower EPA per play, less likely to score touchdowns. Sure, there are teams that can run that way that have the personnel to do that, but you lean towards the pass game. And you're already starting to see it across the NFL. And Vic Fangio is the pallbearer here, the guy who's up at the front of the pack here, dictating scheme to bait teams into run instead of passing. And part of that is your personnel taking linebackers off the field. And you hear him talking about it when they drafted Patrick Surtain. He's going to have a role out there. And who's coming off the field for Patrick Surtain when you have these 5-6 defensive back sets? It's a linebacker. So and having a true 3-down linebacker out there is extremely valuable. Don't get me wrong, but the league is full of just dudes, jags out there. It's kind of like tight end. You listed 3 good tight ends. After that, it's just a bunch of bodies, right? Like the actual difference makers at tight end. It's the same thing for linebacker. There are many guys who are serviceable. There aren't many true difference makers. And a lot of times those difference makers aren't first round or bust kind of guys. Just like you named 3 tight ends there, none of them are first round picks. None of them. So the linebacker mimics that a lot. It's great to have a good one, but it's not going to completely kill your defense if you don't have a good one. You just need to not be absolutely pitiful there. And I don't think the Broncos are.
No, I don't think they're pitiful, but I'm tired of seeing Alexander Johnson creep up to the line of scrimmage and get caught up in the congestion. Tired of seeing Josie Jewell, the outlaw Josie Jewell, bless his heart, coming off a really good season. He just can't cover, dude. I'm sorry. You just can't do it. That's not your role. And I still want Josie Jewell on this team, but I'm looking at, a Devin White out of Tampa Bay and what the Tampa Bay Bucks were able to do the Kansas City Chiefs. And a lot of those times it was 4-man rushes. You're not seeing a lot of blitzes. We saw what happened to Pat Mahomes, and I get he had a foot injury. I get his offensive line completely collapsed, but Devin White, Levante David, Shaq Barrett. I know Shaq Barrett's on the edge, not really a coverage guy. I get it, but it's just, to me, man, I just wonder if that's the blueprint when you start to figure out how to develop in the NFL. And I hear you. You're exactly right. When he told me Pat Surtain might be covering tight ends, my ears perked up and I'm thinking, okay, that's something I want to see. I mean, that's cool, man. That's no longer are you getting those boxy safeties, the strong safeties that can't cover. You're getting more Harrison Smiths. You're getting more, Justin Simmons with the ball hawk. Kareem Jackson can still intercept the ball just like he can lay the wood as well. We're talking about a former cornerback, Nick, that came over to safety. So, let's open it up because I love the spirited debate and I love all the theories coming out of Broncos country. And Mike Postel, please correct me if I'm not getting that, because we both appreciate you joining our show on MHI tonight. Nick, out of curiosity, how many all-knowing fans and analysts threw in the towel and called Bowles a worthless bum and bust? Sounds familiar. There's a plethora of factors that go into one player's success or lack thereof. So much easier to be a hater, though. Here's the thing, Mike. I called Garrett Bowles a bust right away. I was with another publication, absolutely. And you know what? So did everybody else. I mean, Nick, I wasn't here, so I'm going to believe Nick, except Lance and Eric go over to DVDD. They'll tell you about it for an hour. And, it's true because they were right, rightfully so. So they should take that victory lap. So I eat that crow. I also when I'm wrong, Nick, I say I'm wrong. I was pissed off about Noah Fant showing up to training camp sick and out of shape, throwing up when I'm there covering training camp. I'm thinking, dude, are you taking this serious or do you just not give a gee whiz not finishing these routes? I'm seeing the player that he's becoming. So when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it's not because I'm a hater. It's because I'm seeing these things and they concern me. Now, did I rush to judgment way too soon on Noah Fant? You bet. Garrett Bowles? No, with good reason. I'm glad he's turned it around, Nick. I really am.
Yeah. Like I said, I let data and historical precedent dictate my perspective because it's a probability game, right? I'm not going to sit out.
I like film.
Yeah. Well, film is the main dictator, but as far as where guys line up historically and time periods or whatnot, offensive tackles, typically it takes 3 to 4 years for them to jump over the learning curve that is the NFL. Typically for quarterbacks, you are going to know what a guy is by the end of year 2 in the league. And that's regardless of if they played year one or not. Now, there are going to be outliers. There always will be. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. You're not finding guys in the 6th round, but it could happen, right? It's like, what are the chances you could marry me, says Lloyd Christmas, or, fall in love with me? It's about 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, 1 in a million. So you're saying there's a chance, right? Oh, of course. I'm not going to sit here and talk in absolutes. That's not my style. But what I am going to do is try to give you the data and the tools to make a most informed decision to understand the probabilities. If Locke turns out to be a perennial top 10 quarterback in the NFL, he would be an extreme outlier. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We've said it on here 100 times, good arm talent. He's a very likable kid, good athlete. He can do some pretty amazing things. You go out there and watch his top 10 throws of the year, you're like, oh, wow, that kid can play. That kid can ball. But there's just so many.
There's only 10 of them. There's only 10 of them. And obviously, like I'm being tongue in cheek with that. Like I'm not. Obviously, there were more than 10 good throws. But like we've got our reasons to have the concerns too. And I've straight up said, Drew Lock's bad at football. And until I see it, man. I mean, it doesn't make me a hater or whatever. And you guys can throw that, and I'll take it. And I love it, man, because I've been wrong before, and when I'm wrong, that means good things are happening for the Broncos. It's not because I'm a hater. Yeah. So let's keep that going. John Houston, keeping the show going with the $2.99 Super. Appreciate you so much. Thanks for joining on your Saturday nights. And John saying, hey, fellas, just joined. How serious is Chubb's injury? Nick, can you rewind a little bit one more time for the news of the day as John Houston is hopping in on his Saturday night to break down what's going down in Broncos country?
He's having corrective surgery on his ankle, I believe, removing bone spurs. It's the same ankle that caused him to miss the last 2 games last year. You're hoping that he will be back by training camp this year, but that's kind of a wait and see. He might be gingerly out there. Sorry, the dog's flipping around in his kennel right now if you hear him. It's one that, I'm not concerned about. I'm also not concerned, right? This was an injury that occurred he lost games in December, and now we're nearing June, and he's having surgery again. So, to wait and see. It's not a good thing, but how serious, that remains to be seen. I do, and I really like, maybe this is just me being hopeful here, but saw on Twitter somebody saying, we put on the tinfoil hat here. Maybe this kind of makes the Green Bay Packers a little bit nervous taking on a Bradley Chubb versus somebody like a Jerry Jeudy or Noah Fant or an offensive lineman, cornerback, et cetera, instead of Bradley Chubb. And that would be okay with me because I think Bradley Chubb is the most valuable player on this team. He wouldn't be the highest ranked in Madden, but because of the position he plays, how hard it is to find those guys, et cetera, he would not be he would be the most valuable player on this Broncos roster for me.
Well, then you got to start talking contract because Nick in his 5th-year option being picked up. I think it was actually the day of that DeMarcus Ware workout. 5th-year option translates to $12.716 million for 2022. And then you've got to figure out the long-term fate of Bradley Chubb. What is he going to command? What's the market going to look like for an edge rusher? So, John, right now there's a lot of frustration in Broncos country. There's a lot of relaxation. There's a lot of chilled vibes in Broncos country. It's really a plethora, man. If you get on social media, even as you wrap your brain around it, some folks are just saying, hey, man, it's all good. Don't worry about it. It's routine. Well, folks, Nick works in the medical field. I've worked in the medical field. There are plenty invasive routine surgeries that happen every single day as a continuation of care. So lots of theories. It's interesting to have these conversations because it's what we got going on right now with OTAs, right? So while I would rather not have a conversation about Bradley Chubb, especially an injury, these are the things that we have to report with the news. So absolutely appreciate John coming in and really just kind of recapping and asking the question, hey, what's going on with Bradley Chubb? Bradley Chubb, ankle surgery, trying to figure out if he can make it back training camp, which is the expectation, which should mean, Nick, he's going to be in and ready for game 1.
Fingers crossed, because I need to see just for the funds of it, Bradley Chubb and Von Miller firing off on all cylinders with a lead, with actually having not a decimated secondary behind him. That would be
just one more year. They've only had 1 year together, right? Can we get 2?
In Vance Joseph defense.
Yeah, could we just get two? Like, gosh dang, man, it's gonna be like the best that never was, right? The combos of Vic Fangio, Vaughn, and Chubb, because they were never all together right then and there. And I had to have to bust your chops for just a second, because I know you're not a Star Wars guy, and you were talking about speaking in absolutes, and I'm a total Star Wars guy. So when you're like, think of that, I'm going to Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? Like with a Sith always deals in absolutes, and I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. So get at me, man, with some Star Wars questions as we get it going. And John Houston coming in again with a generous super chat. Thanks, John. Hey, Nick, do you think we will sign Moses, right tackle from Washington?
I guess it's possible, but you already sunk a decent amount of cap in, not a lot, but you already brought in Cam Fleming and Bobby Massey. I guess
you've got a million right tackles now, right? You used to have none, and now you've got a bunch. Hopefully one or two can play.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Moses probably, maybe we've been praising George Payton on being patient this offseason. Maybe this was one, though, that it might have been wise to be even a little bit more patient. If they would have just signed Bobby Massey or Cam Fleming, then maybe there's a little bit more room here, but you just gave out some guaranteed cash to both those guys. Maybe that makes it a little bit harder. Maybe you'd hope that Payton had been a little bit more patient in hindsight, but they could bring him back. They could bring him in. We'll see. He's definitely, I would take him over Bobby Massey and Cam Fleming in a vacuum. He's a solid right tackle. He probably would be the best Broncos right tackle since
Big O in 2015.
Jared Valdir was okay. I think people sleep on him. He was solid.
Okay, but you got a second rounder, and my guy, Big O, man. Well, not Big O anymore. If you've read the stories and seen him, he's lean, he's mean, he's working out, he's running. I know you take care of yourself, Nick. I'm on that Colt Peloton bike, and it's cool, man.
These days.
Little case O. Well, it's funny, speaking of O, because I was actually going to bring him up. O and Tyler Columbus, former right tackle too, right, for the Broncos, both seem to think that there's going to be a rotation almost at right tackle in training camp, like battling, obviously, but later in the year, maybe one of these right tackles was signed up as the backup / insurance plan. I think that kind of indicated that Calvin Anderson, they would really prefer him on the left or as that swing tackle. I don't think they are quite ready to throw Calvin Anderson in the starting mix.
Yeah, I think this is more of a indictment on how much they trust Calvin Anderson as a potential right tackle or starting right tackle than it is actually a total reaction to Juwan James. Obviously, part of it is driven by Juwan James. You want to get a guy while there's still plenty of options out there. But a lot of people are like, oh man, Calvin Anderson's chance. And, he's out here tweeting like, sure, like I know my purpose now kind of things. Like, okay, I'm an analyst. I'm on Twitter a lot. That's whatever at me. But he does a lot of talking on Twitter, man. And I'm afraid to say too much because I will get something in my DMs from him.
Will you? Is he one of those guys? You know what? I'm just going to say it. Calvin Anderson, you get a lot of love from Broncos country, man. You do. And with good reason. I think, you had some bad games last year. Sure. But everybody does, right? I think Broncos country likes Calvin Anderson. It blows my mind, Nick, and everybody's human beings. So I react too, right? To the trollers. Yeah. You react. We all try not to. And doesn't that make us the maddest? Right? Broncos country too. Like, I'm not going to react to that. And then you react to it. And then you're mad that you reacted to it. We're all just big children when it comes to being on social media. So yeah, I hear you, man. Sometimes, I get Melvin Gordon's agents getting at me saying, hey man, why can't you say anything nice about Melvin? So sometimes that's happened, but nice isn't always how we do it here on MHI, but we tell the truth. So let's roll around, because look, we got 5 minutes going. I like to open this up to Broncos country in our final few minutes of MHI. Again, Bradley Chubb, that minor ankle surgery. We will have to see how he responds to treatment, how that injury heals, and we have to support him in Broncos country. And speaking of support, George Newton joining MHI tonight, an MHH Super Chat superstar with a $3 Super Chat donation. Thank you so much. Given that graphic, I think if it's a little bird with a thumbs up. And I want to leave that thumbs up because we need all the thumbs up and positivity that we can get in Broncos country. This is a talented roster, Nick. I like the moves that they made in the front office this week, unprecedented moves. I like the scouting hires. I like the promotions. I like a lot of what George Paton is doing. So I'm really intrigued, how George Paton's going to react to this injury. What's he going to do next? Are the Broncos going to maybe go after another edge rusher? I wouldn't be surprised. He's certainly looking around. Maybe you're always trying to improve. And why wouldn't you look if you've got an injured player? Something to think about, especially considering, Nick, you brought up that good point. A lot of thin edge rushers. You need some more beef. You need some more power, like a Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, no, a little bit more of a 7 technique kind of guy that can do some more stuff directly over a tackle. Because, Vic Fangio, he runs a 3-4, but really kind of 4-3 over, 4-3 under, nickel. It's 4 down linemen a lot of times.
Oh, yeah, his base is 4 down. He's got that weird substitution package, right? Because he has to. It's the passing league now, so it's hard to change, man. Yeah, it's hard to find that base.
Yeah, the base, they need to start changing it. Maybe call it penny. You have nickel, dime. Maybe call it with the linemen out there and the linebackers call it penny personnel. Fly Fisher Hunter coming out here saying, "Okay, guys, prediction time. Who starts for the Broncos at quarterback week 1? Locke, Bridgewater, or Rodgers? Don't forget the D in there. Oh, D is important.
Hey, Ron.
Who do you put your money on today? I think it's gonna be Bridgewater. He's already on the roster right now. I think that Locke is probably going to turn the ball over enough. I think it's going to come down to turnovers, and because I think the defense is the identity of this team. Just do enough to not put the offense in a bad position and the defense in a bad position, and things can happen. And that I think that's going to lead into Bridgewater winning this competition. But that's probably the least exciting option. But that's the one that my gut is telling me.
You're putting your money on Teddy Covers. He covers the spread. You putting your money on Teddy Covers?
Not putting money, but
that's the question. Who you putting your money on? I love this question, man, because sometimes there are different answers. Like for me, I would say Teddy Bridgewater's going to win the quarterback competition. Yeah. Am I going to put money on Teddy as the starter? No, I would actually put that on Drew Lock because he's the in-house quarterback, because he's been here working out. And for folks who missed it, Teddy Bridgewater did welcome a son into the world. So Muhammad, you're in good company as we welcome at least another Broncos fan right now at the Bridgewater household. So that's why he hasn't been at OTAs, Nick. So that's going to be tough. But man, I'm not excited for the quarterback competition. I'm not excited for Drew Lock won today, Teddy won tomorrow. I'm not excited for that. It's Paxton, Trevor, not the same quarterbacks, but it's the same argument and debate. And then soon it's going to become clear. And then the coaches are going to have weird reasons for not doing it, playing silly little games. It's going to get weird, Nick, real soon at the quarterback position.
Yep. It's unfortunate kind of, but also it's good content. So I won't be too upset here. We got Casey Martin coming in saying, the weakest link might be the defensive line. I love the guys we have penciled in to start, but there's concerning lack of depth. Yeah, okay. And all right, I feel better about the defensive line than I do linebacker. Like if you're stacking up Shelby Harris and Draymond Jones versus Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell
and Mike Purcell, you got him coming back from an injury. That feels good. I hear him on the depth. Casey, that's interesting. I like that because I was a big McTelvin Ajim guy, and he got some time last year, but he was not ready. And I'll be the first to say I was wrong about that. I was thinking, oh man, I think with Bill Kolar, this is going to be interesting. I think at times his strength of finding his center of gravity, he couldn't really find it yet in his rookie year. So McTelvin Ajim, he's got to take a big step in the right direction as well. So that's a really good question, Casey. I like it because this is a talented team, right? 6th best on roster off the top of my head, with a lot of reports, but a lot of work to do as well.
Yeah, and I want to get the Wave Hog channel because he's been giving some good comments here, contrary to what we're saying, but that's fine, man. If you can't handle a difference of opinion, then good luck being an adult in today's world. So Wave Hog, thank you for the comments here over on YouTube. If you guys had been around when rookie John Elway lined up under guard and was getting benched, your heads would have exploded. Probably a little bit. I do think it's important to note the pedigree is completely different. You're talking about the number 1 overall pick versus the 42nd or 3rd overall pick. That does matter. Just ask the Jets/Panthers/ Sam Darnold where you were picked and what you did in college still does have weight. And there is guys carry value and hope. And Carson Wentz, too. That's another one for where they were picked. Locke fell to the second round, and the hit rate for second-round quarterbacks is bad. There are just not many good outside of the first-round quarterbacks drafted in the last decade. I can name them on one hand and with less than 5 fingers. So that's, and that's a good comment here from Dylan. Totally, today's a lot different from when Elway was in the league. And I saw somebody mention Peyton, too. Games changed a lot since 1999. That's 20 years ago.
That's NBA guy. That's comparing Kobe and Jordan and players the different era. Don't do that in the NFL because it's a completely different game. The rules have dictated it's a different game. Even the equipment, right? The medical technology, the fields, the way it's played. I absolutely can't stand that kind of take. I welcome it because it's different than mine, and I'm trying to see past just what I believe. But I don't even have to look up this stat to tell you that as many games that Drew Lock has played, John Elway played much better in all those same games. And when you're a Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champ as a player, a Super Bowl champion executive, don't come at me with I wouldn't have not liked John Elway. It's just I don't get it. But
yeah, I want to share this real quick just because this is how every time I think of somebody comparing different eras, even dating back to like Peyton Manning, this is how much the game has changed. Hope you guys can see this. We have the first comparison, a side-by-side comparison of Andy Dalton versus Peyton Manning.
Yep.
Okay, cool. What does this even mean? Who gives a flying hoot, right? Like, we know what these two guys are. Totally different situations. Andy Dalton comes on a stacked Bengals team. Peyton Manning came on a team that earned the number 1 overall pick. These totally different situations. Okay, their numbers look similar side by side. You're not accounting for how much the game changed in 15 years. You're not accounting for the situation around those guys.
The context.
Throw it out the window. It's dumb. It's bad. I mean, you're telling on yourself. I hate it. I hate it. It really grinds my gears.
It's not being a Monday morning quarterback. It's being the what if guy. Don't be the what if guy, because the what if guy, that's not going to happen from the past. The what if right now is, what if Aaron Rodgers came? It's that kind of a thing. It's not, well, yeah, John Elway had struggles. So, does that mean you'd hate John Elway? Give me a break. Every quarterback in the NFL struggles. Every quarterback in college football struggles. Every quarterback in football struggles. We all struggle. So, Wave, I love it. And he's coming in with a question. We're going to start to wrap this show up. But I want to get to you because I like to give folks, Nick, and I know you do too. It's one of the things that I really, really respect about you and a lot of our folks at MHH. We like to welcome this channel to open debate, and we like to give the mic back, so to speak. So Wave Hog channel, I asked a ton of questions because I'm getting a little fired up, so I'm going to allow him to retort. He's saying, are you guys saying the learning curve is easier now? And that's a really good question, Wave Hog. I can appreciate that and respect that question. Nick, you're nodding your head yes.
It is. Well, first off, the game has changed. We have a trickle up here. The 7-on-7s, the all passing academies, there are quarterbacks coming into the league that are throwing the ball much more than we saw back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. They're just coming. They're far more developed. Also, the schemes are more simpler. Or I don't know if that's a word.
Watch college football on Saturdays.
Yes, the air raid, there's a trickle up as far as innovation happening in college football. You're seeing the spread be implemented more and more in the NFL because it is more simple. You're seeing, it used to be, you draft a quarterback and you wouldn't expect to see them till year 2 or year 3. That's not been the NFL the last 20 years. And at that point, you're just one of the biggest benefits of having a rookie quarterback is that rookie contract. Well, just might as well light it on fire, right? Like you need to be able to get a guy and take advantage of that rookie contract. So
I love it. Yeah. I love it. And Wave Hog loves it too. He's saying, I appreciate you guys. Wave Hog, I appreciate you, man. That's a great spirited debate. Nick, I do wonder as I'm going to ponder this until I see you. I'm going to be off next week, but the week after, how would I have responded in live time to John Elway lining up under the guard? Would I have laughed? Would I have chalked it off to nothing? Would I have been angry? It's an interesting theory. So Wave Hog, I appreciate that. And that's something I'm going to think about, but that's going to have to do it for this Saturday night. Nick, it's been a fun show. I wish the news wasn't a bummer, but I don't think it's a total bomb disaster yet either. Time will tell. That's kind of where we're at, man.
Time is an arrow, right? Marches forward. We'll see what happens. But thanks to everybody. And we always love the spirited debate, and I see some people in here. Obviously, you have the hardcore Drew Lock skeptics, you have the hardcore supporters, but in the end, we are all hoping honestly, I'm hoping I'd rather be wrong. I'd rather watch good football and not have people like my server today at the restaurant saying, I just don't care anymore because the Broncos have been bad. We don't want that apathy. So as long as you guys come in here enjoying, like, we want Drew Lock to figure it out. We want the Broncos to figure it out. But I'm going to try to keep it real with you guys. I absolutely hate analyst pandering. I'm not here to blow smoke up your butt. I hate it. The unauthentic takes. I hate it.
Stay away from the spin, y'all. Stay away from the spin. And hey, I wanted to say congrats to you too for Broncos with breakfast. Right? Am I
Broncos for breakfast?
Yeah, I've been checking that out with you and Scout Kennedy there, right? At Twitter, fun. Scout Kennedy for Mr. Kennedy there. So get at that, guys. Be sure to check out Nick's other show, Building the Broncos with Carl. Got to work with Carl last week. That was a ton of fun. The Huddle Up Boys are going to be with you tomorrow. And then you got the Dove Valley Deep Divers who rep the Friday night shows. You've got Zach Kelberman with Kelberman's Corner, Eric Trickle with the Trickle Zone. Tons and tons of comments. But thank you guys so much for joining Mile High Insiders. It was another great show with spirited debate, lots of comments, lots of reaction to this Bradley Chubb news. And I can't wait. I'll be back in a couple weeks. Well, 1 week or so. But stay tuned and stay good, Broncos country, because we got a lot of optimism, man. A lot of optimism.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Also, shout out to John behind the scenes, Bawana. Obviously, this makes the show 100 times better, more enjoyable for us, more enjoyable for you guys. So I want to give him a shout out as well. Follow him on Twitter at JohnKMHH. We'll see you guys again soon. Love y'all. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.